All right, let's talk about that nagging feeling, you know the one, that your phone is kind of in charge of you and not the other way around. Today, we're going to break down the actual brain science that makes our screens so hard to look away from. And more importantly, we're going to build a simple science-backed toolkit you can use to take back your time and your focus. Let's get right into it.
I mean, how many times has this happened to you? You just pick up your phone to check one tiny thing, and when you look up, a whole hour has just vanished. Look, if that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And this isn't a moral failing. It's not about a lack of willpower. There's a really powerful chemical process going on inside your head.
And the star of this whole show is a brain chemical called dopamine. Now, you've probably heard it called the pleasure molecule, but that's not quite the full story. It's really the molecule of motivation. It's what drives you to want things, to seek out rewards. And understanding how it works is the absolute key to getting your focus back.
So, first things first, we have to understand the trap itself. Why are our phones, these apps, these endless scrolling feeds, why are they so ridiculously compelling? Well, the answer is all about how our brain is wired to balance two fundamental things, pleasure and pain.
Okay, so here's the core idea, and it comes from Stanford psychiatrist Dr. Anna Lembke. Think of dopamine as the universal currency for reward in your brain. Anything that feels good and reinforcing, whether it's a piece of cake or a like on social media, triggers a release of this currency in a very specific part of your brain, the reward pathway.
But check this out. Not all rewards are created equal. Eating a piece of chocolate, that's a nice little 55% bump above your normal baseline level. But then you look at nicotine or amphetamine, whoa, we're talking about a complete hijacking of the system. These are massive, unnatural spikes that our brains just did not evolve to deal with. And while it's not on this chart, that endless scroll on your phone, it works in a very similar way, just with smaller repeated hits.
And this is where the trap is actually set. Dr. Lemke uses this perfect metaphor. Imagine your brain's pleasure-pain circuit is a giant teeter-totter, and its number one job all day long is to stay perfectly level. It always wants to get back to a state of balance.
So when you get a big dopamine spike from something, the pleasure side of the teeter-totter slams down. To fix this, your brain immediately sends out what Dr. Lemke hilariously calls neuroadaptation gremlins to jump on the opposite side, the pain side. And they do their job. They bring you back to level. But they don't get off right away. They hang out for a bit, which tips you over into a state of pain, of craving. That feeling is the dopamine deficit, and it's what makes you desperately reach for another hit.
So, if we're all walking around with our internal teeter-totters constantly tilted towards pain and craving, what on earth can we do about it? Well, the first step is a hard reset. We literally need to give those gremlins a chance to hop off so our brain can find its balance again.
And this is the part that might sound intense, but it's so important. Clinical data shows that it takes about 4 weeks, a full month, of staying away from a high dopamine behavior for our reward pathways to truly reset. It takes 4 weeks for that teeter-totter to finally level out, which lets us start enjoying simple, everyday pleasures again.
But okay, let's be realistic. A fast is a great tool, but it's a temporary one. The modern world, with all its temptations, isn't going anywhere. So the real question is, how do we re-engage with everything without just falling right back into the same old trap? How do we build a system for the long haul? And the answer, thankfully, isn't just try harder. The answer lies in the science of how our habits actually work. We don't need more willpower. We need to become architects of our own behavior by understanding two really simple but powerful concepts. First up is this idea called activation energy. Think of it like trying to push a giant boulder. That first big shove you need just to get it moving. That's its activation energy. Every habit has one. And the bigger that initial push is, the less likely you are to ever even start. And that leads perfectly into this super useful formula, the fog behavior model. It basically says that for any behavior to happen, you need 3 things to line up at the exact same moment: a prompt, the ability to do it, and the motivation. Think about it. That little red notification on your phone, that's the prompt. The app being right there on your home screen, that's ability. And feeling a little bored or anxious, that's your motivation. Boom. Behavior happens. The people who design these apps are absolute masters of this formula. So our goal is simple. We're going to reverse engineer this whole process. We're going to intentionally make our bad habits harder to do by adding what's called friction. At the same time, we're going to make our good habits ridiculously easy to do by removing friction. It's all about designing your world for success.
Okay, let's dive into the practical toolkit. How does this actually work? First up,
How do we increase the friction for those habits we want to break, like mindless phone scrolling?
Well, a fascinating study on nudges gives us some super simple, powerful strategies. Each one targets a part of that behavior model. You disable notifications, the prompt is gone. You set your phone to grayscale. It's suddenly way less shiny and appealing, so your motivation drops. You keep it in another room. Now it's not easy anymore. You've attacked the ability part. And disabling Face ID? That just adds a tiny bit of friction, a little pause between the impulse and the action.
And look, this is not just theory. You can do this right now. Try this tonight. Go into your phone's settings, it's usually under Accessibility, and turn on Grayscale. Then, before you go to sleep, plug your phone in on the other side of your room, not next to your bed. These two simple things add just enough friction to be incredibly powerful.
Now for the other side of the coin, which is honestly just as important. How do we make the good stuff, like reading a book, or exercising, or doing focused work, the path of least resistance?
This is where you get to be clever. Your environment is your superpower. It can act as a catalyst to lower the activation energy for your good habits. You want to run in the morning? Lay out your running shoes and clothes the night before. You want to read more? Don't leave your phone on your nightstand. Leave a book there instead. You want to make the right choice the easiest choice.
So, what happens when people actually reclaim their time this way? They don't just sit around bored. That new free time gets reinvested into things that truly matter. Over half of it went into studying or work. A quarter of it went to hobbies. And about a fifth went to actually connecting with friends and family in the real world.
And the amount of time they got back is just staggering. On average, these simple little tweaks to their environment save people about 1 full hour every single day. Seriously, stop and think about that. What could you do with an extra hour a day?
So if a 4-week fast sounds overwhelming, here's a final challenge from Dr. Lemke. Just try a 24-hour experiment. Pick that one app, that one behavior you know you use compulsively, and just give it up for 1 day. The point isn't to be perfect. The point is to just observe, to learn about your own triggers and your own cravings.
So I'll just leave you with this one question. Forget about a big, ambitious life overhaul for a moment. What is one tiny, almost laughably simple thing you can do right now to make a good habit just a little bit easier or a bad one just a little bit harder? Because that's it. That's where real change actually begins. Thanks for watching.